Hi guys, welcome to day 2, another 5 non-calculated questions we're about to do. So these are the 5 that we're going to do together. Just pause the video if you've not done them yet and try them on your own. Okay, so find the roots of the equation. So if you can imagine, what does roots mean? It means if you've got coordinate axes, x and y, the roots are where it cuts the x-axis. So what you're going to do is you're going to factorize x squared, take away 4x, take away 45. Now I'm assuming in all these videos, I'm assuming that you have done everything. So they're really just showing you what to do. There's lots of different methods and different ways of factorizing trinomials. I'm assuming that you know what to do. You're thinking about two numbers that multiply to give that negative 45 and then combine or add together to give the negative 4. So in order to get that x squared, my two brackets must start with an x and an x, because x multiplied by x is x squared. And then in my other bracket, must be a 5 and a 4. Sorry, not a 5 and a 4, a 5 and a 9. Sorry. Because 5 multiplied by 9 is 45. You want a negative 45. So one of them has to be a negative and one has to be a positive. If your target is negative 4, how do you go about doing that? So it must be negative 9 and a positive 5. Again, just ask yourself the question, 5 multiplied by negative 9, does it give me negative 45? Yes, it does. And 5 take away 9, does it give me negative 4? Yes, it does. Okay, you factorized and you want to find the roots, which is where it cuts the x-axis. And it cuts the x-axis when y is equal to 0. So here, where that y appears, you're replacing that with 0. So I can write each of the brackets, and I can make them equal to 0. And then I can take each bracket separately. So x plus 5, make it equal to 0. And then solve that. So x must equal negative 5. And then take the second bracket. X take away 9 equals 0. So x must equal 9. And you already substituted in y equals 0. So you know the coordinates are negative 5, 0 and 9, 0. Okay, so that should solve it. And that is where this cuts the y-axis. It doesn't ask you to do this, but if you were to draw this, it's a x squared trinomial or quadratic. So you know the parabola is this shape in the shape of a happy face. And it would cut the coordinate axis. It would cut it at 9, 0. So there, 9, 0, and negative 5, 0. And then you can just draw in the parabola. And if it was asking you to do this, which is not in this question, they would want a wee bit more working, because they would want you also to find out where it cut the y-axis or the y-intercept. And again, you would do that by substituting x is 0 in there. Okay, move on. Okay, so evaluate this here. So you need to remember your BODMAS rules, and that you multiply before you subtract. So I need to do this part here first before I subtract. So we're doing 4.2 multiplied by 40, which this 40 can be split up into 4.2 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 4, or you can do it the other way around. So if I do this part first, 4.2 multiplied by 10 is 42. and you multiply by 4. You want to do a bit of working at the side. 42 multiplied by 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 multiplied by 4 is 16. It's 168. Okay. Okay, so then the calculation you want to do, or what you want to value, is 103.4 take away 168. You can see that 168 is bigger than 103.4, so your answer is going to be negative. If you want to do this, obviously this is a non-calculator question. You could do the bigger number, 168, take away your 103.4. Put a decimal point after 168 and add a 0. And then you can do 0 take away 4, which you can't do. This is the kind of traditional method. Borrow 1 from your units column. So it's 10 take away 4, which is 6. Decimal point, line them up. 7 take away 3 is 4. 6 take away 0 is 6. 1 take away 1 is nothing. So that's the difference between them. But remember, you've started with the 168 and taken away your 103.4. So your answer to this one here is going to be negative 64.6. Okay. Next one. Okay, so find the equation of the straight line. Again, what do you need to know for the equation of a straight line? You need to know the gradient. You can use a point if you want to sub into y minus b equals mx minus a. However, there's an easier way to do it if you know the gradient and you know the y-intercept, which you do know, because you can see the y-intercept is negative 3. You just need to put it in this form, y equals mx plus c. Okay, where c is the y-intercept and m is the gradient. Okay, so before I even work anything out, I can write y equals mx, and that c is where it cuts the y-axis, and you can see it cuts it in negative 3, so that there I can write negative 3. So you don't need to use this formula because you can see where it cuts the y-axis. If you did use this formula, it would still work, but you're just giving yourself a bit more work. You've got two coordinates, 8, 1, and you've got the coordinate 0, take away 3, sorry, negative 3. So you're going to plug all that into your y2, take away y1, over x2, take away x1. Again, I always look at my y values and I always label the bigger ones 2's. So this is my x and my y, and I'm going to label these the 2's. This is my x and my y, and I'll label these ones the 1's. So you've got 1, take away negative 3, all over 8, take away 0. And you've got 4 over 8, which is a half. I'm going to go back up here where this m is. I'm replacing it with a half. And my equation is y equals a half x take away 3. And that's your final answer. Okay. Next one. Okay, when you've got a square root on the top, root 48, and a square root on the bottom, I know what everyone's thinking at this point, they want to rationalise that denominator, but you're allowed to put that all under one square root sign. So you've got 48 over 75. And what I'm recommending is that you simplify 48 over 75. So think about what number divides into the top and divides into the bottom. Okay, so if you divide the top by 3, and if you divide the bottom by 3, you would get 16 over 25. And you should notice at this point that that top number and the bottom number are both square numbers. So if you go back and you separate them into separate square root signs. Square root of 16 is 4, and the square root of 25 is 5. And that's your final answer. Okay, change the subject of the formula to t. So we've got m equals 5t cubed all over d, and you want t all by itself. So again, let's have a little think about what's happened to t. So t is here, it's been cubed, then been multiplied by 5, and then it's been divided by d. So if we think about what I said last, you are going to go backwards and undo what has happened to that t. Oops, sorry, so highlight. Okay. So I'm just going to do the working line. So to get rid of that divide by d, I'm going to multiply by d. So on this side, m multiplied by d is just md equals 5t cubed. Again, t has been cubed and then been multiplied by 5, so I'm going to divide by 5. So it becomes md divided by 5 equals t cubed. And then to get rid of cube, you are going to cube root each side. So this side becomes the cube root of everything on the left-hand side. So the md take away 5 is all cube rooted. And that equals t. And if you wanted, I mean, you still get the final answer for that, all the marks for that, but you can write it round the other way, which I always prefer to do. Okay, and that's your final answer. Oh, sorry, that's day 3, but I'm going to stop there for day 2. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope that was helpful.